The final battle for your mind has begun. You now only have two narratives that you can choose from. You must choose between fear or truth. Because the predictable, safe world that you think you know is gone forever. Hello and welcome to the Thunder Wizard YouTube channel, the official gathering place for all 5D starseeds and light workers. Stay tuned for the entire video because I'm going to go through some very important points to help you understand what it is that we are dealing with. To better understand our ever-changing world, it is a good idea to question your reality and then change it. If you appreciate these videos, please check out the thunderwizard.com Patreon site and subscribe. Also go to the shop there to see the videos and courses that are available. My books can be found at michaelwilliamdenny.com. If you want to support me directly, go to support.thunderwizard.com. Follow the instructions there. All right, so we can no longer hope to go back to a world that we understand and is predictable. We can no longer go to sleep. We are being forced into shifting into a new reality. Now, you can choose between two realities that are being presented to you. Nobody will ever, from this point on, will ever be able to just simply try and go to sleep and just, be a zombie and go through life and just go to work and come home and do the thing and make the money. Those days are gone. So the day when you could just be, kind of an airhead and just go along with society and just flow along and do your part, those days are gone. Of course, I've been saying things like this for a while, but it's now here. So what is inspiring me to talk this way is what I'm seeing happening in Los Angeles right now, the fires that are happening in Los Angeles. So I grew up in LA. I grew up in the South Bay, and I lived in Los Angeles proper for more than a few years. I worked there. I had a theater company in Hollywood that I was part of, and I lived in West Los Angeles, and I worked in various jobs, and so I'm familiar with all of these areas that are now going up in flames. So let me just give you some facts. So I'm 61. I have lived through many of these so-called Santa Ana wind fires. Something that happens every year. Santa Ana winds, or we get winds off the desert and they blow out to sea. And usually what happens is a lot of dust comes in, but a lot of smog from the LA basin and from the valley gets pushed out over the ocean, and that's the big thing. You see all that smog, and it cleans the air out. I lived on the coast a lot of the time. So, and it wasn't unusual for fires to happen when this happens. But what you're seeing now is not natural. I can tell you that. I can tell you that for a bunch of different reasons. Number one, because I've lived through decades of these yearly Santa Ana winds and some of the fires that pop up. There's nothing new about that, but you've never seen anything like this before. And what is most telling to me, so I know enough to know that Santa Ana winds are offshore, meaning that the wind is getting pushed out to sea. So that means if a fire starts, it's going to spread toward the ocean, which you saw in the Pacific Palisades fire. Now, the other thing that I'm seeing in that, now that the footage is coming out, you're seeing some really crazy things. In one particular shot on one side of the road. Cars people had to abandon their cars because they got, they couldn't get out because everybody was trying to flee and the fire was coming after them. So people abandoned their cars and like ran down the street, down the hill away from the fire. And so the street was, packed with empty cars. So in order to get the fire crews up, they brought in, tractors to, push all the cars over to one side or the other. So what's interesting is that on one side of the street, you have cars that are melted. The car is, all of the windows are melted off. The tires are melted off. And the aluminum hubcaps, the wheels, the aluminum wheels and things have melted into rivers onto the street. If you remember, that is the same scene that you saw in Lahaina. And that is a very suspicious thing. I won't tell you why. You can do the research to find that out. There's a link below. Watch it. So that has my attention. So knowing that nothing like this has ever happened in my entire lifetime, and to have things, that one fire is suspicious enough, but at least it followed the wind. The wind started up on the mountainside and pushed it down towards the ocean, down to Malibu, and some seafront homes on Pacific Coast Highway there were destroyed. That at least follows common sense. But then now there are multiple fires, and they are completely on the other side of big giant valleys, and then they've started again. And I think there's 4 or 5 of them now, and they're starting. They're like, And here's the thing: wind doesn't create fire, especially when there's no lightning. So when you've got completely clear day with a lot of wind, that is not going to start a fire. Something has to start that. So you want me to believe that there are teams of people going out there and lighting matches and throwing them, into the brush in the hopes of starting a fire. By the way, it's not that easy to start a fire. They want you to believe that if, just a tiny spark, flies onto the ground, it's going to start a forest fire. It takes more than that. It takes more than just one tiny little spark. And it certainly takes more than one tiny little spark to create fires that go against the wind, that go east and north when the wind is going south and west. It doesn't make sense. And for new ones to keep popping up, something is up. I've never seen anything like that, and we've got, last I saw, something like 200,000 people had been evacuated, and houses completely destroyed. The other thing that's interesting, and you can hear this in the link below, but for some reason, right before these fires started, the insurance companies canceled people's fire insurance just out of the blue. And that again, this whole idea of buying, the narrative is gone. The narrative of safety is gone. The whole idea of insurance, home insurance, is when something goes wrong, the insurance company is there. You've paid into it. A bunch of other people are paying into it. The vast majority of people never use their insurance, so the money that comes to pay your repairs comes from all that money that's saved up. And what's interesting is that, if you're with an insurance company and they cancel on you and you've been with them for 30 years, you don't get any of that money back. You might as well have taken those tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars and just burnt them. It's completely worthless. It's not like you bought into a stock and it's not like you could have taken that money and put it in a savings account and it would have been there for you if something happened. You could have called it the fire savings account. Same amount of money. Could have been growing with interest. It's that narrative of the world is gone now. FEMA. The whole idea of FEMA is that if there's a natural disaster, FEMA comes and brings you food and clothing, and that's gone. We saw what happened in the hurricanes, and FEMA is actually dead. It's gone. There's nothing there. I'm just giving you a couple different examples. Anyway, watch the link below to find out how suspicious all of this is. My point is that this is an all-out assault. It started with all kinds of economic things that have been going on for a long time, and then we really saw it when the Lahaina fires happened, and you saw people, same thing, couldn't get insurance. Their insurance was denied, and the government comes along and says, "Hey, here's $750," and people are still homeless to this day down there. So we've got up until recently. I mean, it's getting worse now because more fires are erupting throughout the entire LA basin. There's going to be hundreds of thousands of homeless people who used to have homes, and how is that going to be dealt with? So, point I'm trying to make is that this is an assault. Now, there's all kinds of things going on. I think there's all kinds of nefarious things going on. I'm not going to say. So I think there are people that have that want to accomplish something out of this for themselves financially. But there's more to it than that. And it has to do with SMART. And again, watch the link below to know what that means. And so you are no longer allowed to just be hypnotized and go along with the flow. We could have gone back 10 years and we could have talked about the sheep. How people are just sheep and all they do is just go after, just get the job, the money, and buy a home, and all the ways that we feed into the machine and keep the corporate fat cats happy. I mean, again, they could have kept that going for a very long time. They are choosing to destroy that. And so the narrative before was just go to sleep, do your part, and enjoy the benefits. Buy the toys and enjoy the benefits. Go to sleep. Don't think about anything. Don't really probe your own existence, and don't go deep into anything. Just go to work and be a slave, and don't realize you're a slave because you have a car and because you have some toys. Don't realize that your entire life is gone. You spent 40 hours a week slaving away just so that you could pay bills and survive. And you tell yourself that you did good because you squeezed out a few kids and, you went on a vacation, once a year. Do that. That narrative is gone. You can't do that anymore. And what has happened now is that even the people who wanted you to be asleep and be a sheep, they want to wake you up. But they want to wake you up to a worse life of fear. And they want to create a scenario that you will be so frightened that you will be willing to take any form of slavery as long as you can survive. This is what is happening now. It's not in the works. It is now happening. When you look at Lahaina, when you look at the hurricanes, and in the mountains in Carolinas, and when you look at what's been happening with all of the natural disasters, that's just in this country. And this country, by the way, meaning the country I'm in, the United States, the United States used to be this safe island where all kinds of stuff could go all over the world, but we were safe. I mean, that's how I grew up. There's wars everywhere, but we've got the most powerful military, we've got the best economy, and we're protected by this giant ocean. Nobody's going to touch us. Yeah, all kinds of stuff are going on over there, and Iraq, and Vietnam, and that's horrible. But the United States, safe and strong. And so we did. We went into this state of denial and hypnosis, and we had television, and we had cars, and we had jet skis, and we didn't worry about it. But now, those same fat cats who gave you that dream are taking it away. They're taking away your savings, they're taking away the economy, they're taking away everything is being taken from you. Even your own home. Watch what's going to happen. You can, if I'm wrong, I'll be the first to admit it, but watch what's going to happen. After this, when these fires finally stop, you're going to find there's already hundreds of thousands, over 100,000 people for sure, whose homes will be destroyed and will have no place to live. And people are going to be talking about, why is there no insurance? Why is there no FEMA? Why is there, this is nobody, Lahaina happens and we go, that's a long way away. It's a tiny island. We forget about it. The hillbillies in the Carolinas. Oh, the hurricane. This is now huge. This is now possibly the most, what's the word I want to use? It's clearly one of the most important megalopolises in the United States. You've got New York and Los Angeles, basically. And Los Angeles is a megalopolis. It is, I lived there. I mean, you can drive for hours and not see anything but buildings. And now it's being burnt up. And so what's happening is even if you don't live anywhere near that, when you hear about people's insurance not going through, when you hear about people not being able to find a place to live, when you hear about all the homelessness, when you hear about all the things that are going to happen as a result of this, if these, plutocrats get their way, then you are going to be forced into a state of fear. Because even if you live somewhere where you're not going to get touched by one of these disasters, even if you feel that, you still are part of the economy and the job market and the housing market and all of that stuff. And you will be forced to be afraid. There's no way around it. This is designed, there's all kinds of things that they're trying to do with this that they've already done in the Carolinas and in Lahaina and other places around the world. But the main assault is on your narrative of the world, what the world is. People say that's just the way the world is. The world will never be the same. And I'm only now talking about what they are wanting to do. So let's get into it. So the predictable world is gone. There is a final assault on the narrative. The narrative. The United States, the dream of the United States is a narrative. It's a story that we tell each other all the time. Founding fathers came here and they fought for freedom, and then we rebelled against the tyrants in the old world, and we gained our freedom, and we have the Constitution and freedom of speech and freedom of this and freedom of that. And even if none of that is true, like for instance, taxes is completely unconstitutional. It's something that was invented, about 100 years ago. Federal taxes, and before that it was tariffs. This is why Trump is trying to bring tariffs in, because if he can do that, then he can get rid of taxes. And the whole idea of the Internal Revenue Service and the Federal Reserve Bank, it's a bank owned by Europeans. It's not owned by the United States, and we're paying taxes to nobody that has anything to do with our country. It's a crazy thing that didn't exist in the beginning. In the beginning of this country, there was no such thing as paying federal taxes just because you're alive and you happen to have made money that year. The mafia comes along, called the IRS, and says, "Oh, you made some money. Yeah, we're going to take about 30% of that." Why? Because that's the way it is. You want to go to jail? Oh, is this constitutional? That doesn't matter. We'll still put you in jail. Anyway, you can tell I got a thing. I don't like taxes. I just don't like the whole idea. The narrative of the United States, what we think the United States is gone. The narrative of the most powerful, the most abundant, the richest country in the world is gone. It's gone. And that's going to be gone because the average citizen will not feel as though they will be taken care of. Paying taxes in order to be taken care of. That's the whole point. Other countries have it. They pay taxes so that they can go to the doctor whenever they want. Can't do that in the United States. We pay tons of taxes and we still can't go to the doctor for free, So you pay taxes so that you have the fire department come put out the fire. And then you find out that there isn't any water in the hydrants, and there aren't enough firefighters, and they can't do their job even if there were enough. That is designed not only to get whatever their design is on all of that land and all of that real estate, but it's designed to frighten you. It's a final assault on the narrative happening, a dark force assault and a spiritual assault. So I've already laid out for you what the dark force assault is on your mind. The spiritual assault, it is an assault. Doesn't mean it's negative, but it is absolutely an attack on the narrative. And that is a frequency thing, it's a spiritual thing. This is what we call the solar flash event. And we're getting bombarded with solar waves and solar radiation, which is increasing the frequency. And that frequency is in opposition to the narrative of just going along in the 3D and being asleep and doing your thing and being a slave, but thinking you're free and blah, I've got my car and my jet ski and everything's okay and I'm happy and I'm free. And that's being assaulted. Did I say that right? There is an assault on that from the spiritual frequencies that are hitting Earth. So that is getting you to, you can't stay asleep any longer. You can't do it. It's not what any of us thought. It's not what I thought. 10 years ago, if you were to talk to me about a spiritual awakening, I would have imagined that it would have been sort of like this slow, mild spiritual orgasm that everybody, I love everything and I love everybody and everything. Oh, yes, I realize the spirit and who cares about money? And I'm just so happy now. I thought that's what why wouldn't anybody think that? The whole idea that we were getting hit with higher dimensional frequencies, and that would be such a threat to our perception and our ego and our identity that it would cause us anxiety and it would be traumatizing. It would be so traumatizing that people would flip out and they would even act out more of their craziness than before. Who would have thought that a spiritual awakening would cause people to act even crazier? Have more fear, more anxiety, have them want to hold on even stronger to their negative attachments. I would not have expected that at all. So we have two assaults going on that are attacking your perception of yourself and the universe. One of them is, of course, the dark force, and the other one is a spiritual assault. You can't stay in the middle any longer. We've been talking about this, and I've been saying people will no longer in the future be able to stay. Well, that time is now. You no longer can stay in one place. You can't do it anymore. Even if what you want is to be part of the 3D narrative, you are going to have to dig deeper into your fear and become more of a slave and become more attached to your greed. You're going to have to do more of that, not less. So you must choose either fear or truth. And you've seen on my channel, I haven't talked, about some of the crazy stuff because I haven't gone through a lot of it lately, but you go back in time and you see me telling you what I was shown in interdimensional meditation, what light beings have communicated to me about my past and the past of Earth, and all the crazy, completely unbelievable stuff. Starting with "you are a probability." All of that is just, you saw that. It was an assault, an extremely traumatic assault on my third dimensional narrative and my, and even as a spiritual person who's into, stuff that goes beyond the third dimension, who hasn't, I've never been into status or money or possessions. I've never been into that. I've always been into nature and spirit, and even me, who's researched the most esoteric, most powerful energy practices in existence. When this being showed up and started telling me that I was a probability, and then took me to higher dimensions, and then told me all the other stuff that, king of this and the supreme lord of that, and all that was an assault, and I barely survived it. I barely survived it. Physically, psychologically, mentally, I barely survived it. So I've experienced the first assault. I'm still going through it. I'm still human in a lot of ways. So it's either fear or truth. And the truth is, everything you think you know is wrong. Everything. Everything you think you know about reality is wrong. You think that you were created and you're a tiny little being, and that you are subject to all of these external forces. This is why people love to believe in false beings of light trapping them into the reincarnation trap. They love believing that. Not because it's a pleasant thought. It fills them with fear and anger. But they love the idea of being told they are a limited being. It helps, for whatever reason, it makes us feel safe in the third dimension. If you start to tap into your expansiveness, you feel like you're dying, and people would rather be tiny and insignificant and victimized. That's why, every time, I just happened recently, every time somebody comes to me and says whatever it is, my favorite one that I love to bag on, the false beings of light are forcing me into reincarnating. And I say, no, that's not how it works. There is no being that can force you to do anything. You, in fact, are the creator of this reality, and you can choose whatever reality you want. Nothing can harm you. Nothing can harm you. But you don't understand. I got attacked by a demon. My ear fell off, and I had a Kundalini awakening and a bruise. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And still, that changes nothing. The response isn't, oh, thank you. I'm so glad to hear that I don't have to be afraid. I don't have to be victimized. I'm not limited. Thank you. Tell me more. That's not their first response. Their first response is, how dare you tell me I'm not victimized? How dare you? Who do you think you are? This last one, I ended up just deleting all of his stuff, but he said, you need to have a more open mind. Why? Because I'm telling you that there's no such thing as any being harming you without your permission. The good news is that you can choose to be bulletproof. I just made a video about it. But in order to do that, you got to change everything you think you know. Everything. And that's scary as hell. So the truth that you are infinite, that you are God, that is a very, very traumatizing truth to your third dimensional ego. But now you don't have a choice. You can't sit on the sidelines anymore. You're gonna have to pick. You're gonna have to go, yeah, I thought I was kind of a victim, but now I'm gonna really become a victim, and I'm gonna go live in an SMART city. Just so that I'll be safe. Just so I can be safe. Big Brother will take care of me. That's a very real, listen, I'm not making fun of that. I understand that. As you've seen, I've bumped into a lot of financial, um, scary things, and the thought of not being able to feed yourself and, have a place to live is a very frightening thought. I get it. I get why people would want to do whatever it took just to be safe, warm and fed and clothed. I get it. But we got to pick one. So if you choose if you choose fear, you will be herded into 1984. SMART. If you choose truth, you can never go back to slavery. When, ever since this, I've always kind of been like this, but ever this, the past 2.5 years of, you are a probability and king of the universe and all that kind of stuff. I can never go back. The thought, don't get me wrong. I've just recently, I bumped into, I got to start making more money, in order to be able, I got a new place to live, and, I got to be able to, and I'm losing my subscribers, and my channel isn't going anywhere. And I got to figure out a way to bring in more money. And I started thinking about ways that I could prostitute myself, if you will, in order to make money. I thought there are things I can do. There are things I could do, and I could make a lot of money. But I'd have to be able to live with myself. And I'm not talking about anything, unseemly or anything illegal. I'm just talking about just going and, become part of that AI YouTube marketing thing and just crank out a bunch of garbage stuff that'll get and I've thought about it. I've thought about creating channels where I tell people the exact opposite of the truth. Maybe create a whole other persona. I've thought about creating a whole other persona, or maybe doing it, through, some kind of voice cloning or something, and just tell people what they want to hear. That if I made a channel that was entitled, "You are a victim of the false beings of light," I could cash in big time. All I'd have to do is tell people the fears that they have. I could make a channel about how, every single person on the planet needs to get YouTube would push the algorithm up. There's all kinds of things I could do. It's not like I don't have the ability to figure out a way to make money. I can't live with myself if I do that. The truth won't let me. There are days when I think about coming onto this channel and making videos, and I go, I don't even know why I'm doing this. How many people watch my videos? A couple hundred. Out of those couple hundred, how many of those people actually train with me? Of those people that have trained with me, how many of them have already gone through everything and they don't need anything else from me? And why aren't more people coming to my channel? Why am I busting my hump over this? Why am I doing these live guided interdimensional meditations twice a week that knock me flat on my ass? Only 20 or 30 people come live. I don't know if I'm doing anything to the planet, good or bad. So why am I doing this? This is a lot of the stuff that goes on, but I don't have a choice. If I want to be able to live with myself, I have to live in the truth. So it means I have to tell you the truth, knowing that most people aren't able to hear it. I spent the afternoon with some people, and I realized I can only share about 10% of myself with these people. If I start going any deeper, it's going to be just so crazy and unbelievable. But the world is going to shift, and there's no middle ground anymore. There's no sitting on your ass hiding. There's no more. So you got to choose the truth, and if you do, you can never go back to slavery. You cannot hope for things to go back to normal. It's over. We've been talking about it for a long time, but it's here now. We can never go back to a state of normal, ever, again. So either we're going to transcend or the opposite. I don't even want to verbalize it. So you have a choice. What choice do you want to make? No matter which choice you make. Now, let me give you this is a good example. So a while back, I was in a group of people. We got together and we talked and shared, and we would try and help each other grow and move on. And there was a woman in there, and she had been in an abusive relationship. I won't get into the details. But she had been in I mean, it wasn't like, it was psychologically, a narcissistic relationship, psychologically abusive. And she was really trapped in it. And so for literally decades, we would tell her, I remember numerous times saying, I'll go to your house while you get your stuff and you leave. And I promise you, this guy I will stand between you and him, and I guarantee you he will not bother you as long as I am there. I can guarantee you your emotional and physical safety. And we'll call the cops, and have the cops come while you gather your stuff to move out. And she would cry and say, I'm so miserable and I hate myself. And then she would say, no, I can't do it. She couldn't leave. She could not leave the guy. And when we'd ask her about it, she says, just the thought of it is too much, and the thought of upsetting him is too much. And so I said to her, so just listen to me for a second. So leaving is too painful a thought, right? She says, yeah, the thought of it is too painful. And I said, I understand. It's incredibly painful. And you don't want to be in pain. She says, right, I don't want to feel bad. I don't want to be in pain. And so, yeah, the thought of leaving is too painful, so I don't want to do anything about it. And then I said, so what about the thought of staying? What if you stayed in the relationship? She said, that's also really painful. I said, so staying is also unacceptable to you and emotionally very traumatizing and extremely painful and frightening. She says, yes. I said, so no matter what you do, you're going to be in pain and you're going to be in fear. If you leave, it's going to be painful and frightening. If you stay, it's going to be painful and frightening. So you can't avoid the trauma, since no matter what you do, you're going to be traumatized. So you might as well take the action that's going to bring you the pain and the trauma that eventually will lead to your freedom and your happiness. Doesn't that make sense? Anyway, you get the point. So where we're at now, the human race, we are at a place where no matter what we do, it's going to be traumatizing. If we try and just stay in the narrative of part of the world, part of the country, part of the economy, part of the job market, part of this, part of the machine, part of society, if we try and stay there, it's going to be extremely painful. It's going to be frightening. Because the assault on your safety of your mind, not to mention perhaps your physical safety, the assault from the dark forces has just begun. It is going to continue. If they're allowed to do what they want, it will increase. I mean, we're not even talking about the craziness going on with the drones and the UFOs. Bring all that together too. I mean, you're being assaulted on all sides. You can't even stop long enough to breathe. There's hurricanes and fires and drones and aliens, and the Chinese are coming, and wars and trust me, there's new of those coming too. You're being assaulted on every side so that you can't just stop and relax and get yourself together. You're not even allowed to just go back into your numb sheep life. You're not even allowed to do that anymore, because what's happening? People are homeless and they work a full-time job and they're homeless. So they're not even letting you just have a job that you can't stand and work 40 hours a week so that you can come home and sit in front of your TV and, eat Snickers and get fat and relax, right? Just eat Cheetos in bed. You're not even allowed to do that now because people can't even find a place to live. So it's going to be painful. The other pain is the one that we are experiencing if you're doing these practices, which is you are connecting to a higher dimensional awareness, and that is going to be lethal to your third dimensional identity. There's no way around it. No way around it. And so you got to pick one. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm bulletproof from all of the dark force assault on my physical safety. I mean, I'm not bulletproof of that. I'm living in North Florida and it's freezing outside. Literally, it's cold enough, it's just above freezing, which is crazy to me. So the thought of not being in a warm house is a horrifically frightening idea. To have poor people that have to live in their cars and all this is crazy. So it's not like this is going to be easy for anybody. But we can either take the path of pain that will lead us deeper into 1984, or we can take the path of pain that will lead us towards freedom and happiness and joy and awakening. So I encourage you to take that path with me. I'm doing my best to accomplish that, and I hope that I can give you the tools to do that. So that's what I'm still doing the live guided meditations, even though it feels like it's tearing me apart. I think it's the most important thing that I can possibly give to this world. And based on my karma, I got a lot of stuff to clean up, so I'm going to keep doing that. And I invite you to come and be a part of that. More and more of you come to these meetings, to these meditations. And if you want to do, not just support the channel, but if you haven't done it yet and you want to have access, again, I've run into people, there's a ton of people that come on the channel and leave comments. They've been on the channel dumping comments for years. They've never worked with me. They've never trained. They've never done any of the practices. They've never done the 90-day challenge. And then they still come and they leave. Some of them even act like, we're the best of friends. And they talk about, how much they love me and they feel close to me. But they haven't done a thing of what I teach. Not one thing. So if you're one of those people, now's the time to get up off your rear end and go subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Challenge. Go do the Awakening the Immortals from the shop. Go do the Maoshan 5-element practices. Do the Maoshan meditations and the mudras and do something. Do something to help you connect to that higher dimensional shift. If you've been doing it and you've been putting it off, and there's a lot of people I've worked with that just disappear, and they hang around on the channel, but they're not doing any of the work. Come back and work with me. We need to do this together. We need to come together and create a new consensus. Listen, the time is going to come when this whole monetary system is going to be gone. And then I can do what I've always wanted, which is to teach everything to everybody without thinking about making a living or, any of that. But the people who make it to that level, when we get to that world, they will have died to their fear and to their limited ego and their limited identity. So it won't even be an issue. I know that everybody that comes to me will want to do the work, will want to, I won't have to push them or prod them. They'll want to do it. So in order to get to that place, we have to push past, we have to fight against the part of us that wants to be a zombie. I'm saying that I'm thinking of somebody that I grew up with who's a zombie. I knew him in high school, and we were, very good friends in college, and I think about him almost on a daily basis, and he's a zombie. And he's just one of the walking dead. And it's because he could have gone down the path of facing the truth and facing himself, and he didn't do that. And now, by the time you're my age, if you've been living like that for decades, it's almost impossible to make your way out of it. If you're here and you're doing the work, I'm so proud of you, and I'm so grateful to you that you are with me, that I'm not alone. I've got people like you who are doing the work. You know who you are. Those of you, if you want to be part of that movement, there's plenty of places to do it. I'm not the only person speaking the truth, but this is a great place to do that. And at the very least, please come and join us in these live guided free interdimensional meditations on this channel. Anyway, that's it. I'm really concerned for the state of the world, and I'm concerned and sad for, I'm glad I don't live in California for a lot of reasons. I would be miserable there. But still, a lot of my life was spent there, and to see that being destroyed like this, and to know that there's going to be probably a couple 100,000 people without homes in the next couple of days, and there won't be any governmental services to help them in the middle of winter. It's a horrible idea, and it saddens me to no end. And I don't think we will ever be the same. What is happening in Los Angeles would be, I think it's even worse than 9/11. Because 9/11 was just a couple of buildings, in the financial center of New York. It was symbolic for sure. But it did, and 3,000 people or so, got unalived. But it's not like this. Los Angeles will never be the same after this. And it has it's a worldwide, this is an assault on the world, because Hollywood now is in danger of going up in flames. And who knows what will happen. But Hollywood is like the world's city because of movies and television and celebrities. Celebrities are worldwide. And the attack on that is an attack on the narrative of the entire world. Because where else are people, of course people will move beyond that. And I'm grateful for that. But of course I think the changes from it will be positive, but I'm not unaware of the significance of this. This attack, and this is an attack, the significance of this attack is world changing. The world will never be the same after this. And we've just got started in 2025. So we got to turn this thing around from a spiritual perspective, and that's only going to be done if we do the work. I'm going to stop babbling. You guys know what to do. You know where to go. Thunderwizard.com. Whoops, not that. Thunderwizard.com. Subscribe. Go to the shop. Support the channel at support.thunderwizard.com. And come to the live guided interdimensional meditations every Wednesday and Saturday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. If you can't do it live, go and watch them on the live section. That's it, my friends. I love you all. Please take extremely good care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.